Good morning, it's Wednesday and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. Today I'm going to do the Cancer 6 reading, and that's for those of you who are new to this channel. I would recommend that you do start at the beginning because this channel is like a story. I'm sharing my way of life, and that way of life involves a certain way of thinking, which then propels me to do what I do every day and live a way of life that really does promote a lot of meaning and purpose. And I know those two words have been fantasized by mainstream media, but really it's all in how you live your entire way of life, which then stems from how you think. So it is important to go back to the beginning and listen to everything I say in all the videos, even if you have to put it on a slightly higher speed, 1.25, because you'll then start to understand the thinking behind what I'm saying, and it'll all start coming together in the same vein as how I live my life hasn't stemmed from go and eat meat, read that scripture, walk every day. It's not how it works. You can't think in a reductionist manner. You have to think in a whole manner, and it's what you do in unison, in whole, every day, including reading and including spending a lot of time in silence where the answers come over a period of time. It could be many years, and also through the experience you've already lived. But if you want to make a change in your life, it is important that you do the inner work. And again, I know you've heard this word before, but I want to share how I've done it just by living a certain way of life that has brought about such immense change, not just in me, but in everybody else. And that's what the real healing is. You don't need to go to a psychotherapist or scientist, psychologist, or go and get some counselling. That's not me saying those things are wrong. What I'm saying is that isn't necessary. This way takes a lot longer, but it is lasting because then you know how to handle the situation yourself. Okay, that's important. So go back and listen to everything, and then what I'm saying today and in all the videos will make a lot more sense to you. So just a very quick note on the garden. It is a flower day today from a biodynamic lunar perspective, and we did have the full moon yesterday, the day before, something like that. So we are now approaching a waning moon, and it's also a descending moon. So we've got a moon starting to wane, which is go from full down to a new moon, and we have also got a descending moon where, as you know, the moon moves like this and it's descending. When it's descending, the energy is coming down to the earth. So it's a very, very, very good time to do your transplanting. And I transplant a lot of my seedlings around this time, and I always do it in the afternoon because it's in the afternoon, evening that the earth starts to breathe in, which means that it's drawing in the energy from outside and including the water into the earth. That is then further supported by the descending moon. As it's descending closer to the earth, it's helping to draw the energy in. And I have found that whenever I transplant like this on the right lunar day, whether it's a fruit or whether it's a root vegetable or whether it's a flower or leaf, on the right lunar day, you have to go back to previous videos to understand what I mean about that. The outcome is phenomenal in terms of the plant health and how it grows. Okay, so that's something I'll do this afternoon. But for now, let me get back to this Cancer 6 reading. And those of you who've been listening to every one will be excited to listen to this too, because as we know, this book that I'm reading, I've read now 2 or 3 times, The Healing Power of Illness. is written by two individuals, German and Austrian. One of them is a psychotherapist and esotericist, and the other one was a psychologist. And they understand the metaphorical reason for cancer very, very well, that it's a sign of the times that we live in, and it's a complete mirror reflection of what's happening in the world today. Bearing in mind, this book was written in the 80s, and the individuals themselves, one of them has passed, but they would be in their 80s now, I would say. So think about where we are now, 2024, and when they wrote this. Okay, let me go on to read. In Cancer 5, I explained to you, the last sentence I'd explained to you is how cancer eventually collapses the body. And the authors say our whole rationale is just like that of the cancer cell. Now, moving on. So rapid and successful is our expansion that we too can barely cope with our supply problems. Our communication systems, they extend worldwide, and yet we still cannot communicate with our neighbours or partners. For those of you, I'm just digressing, who watched that video that I shot in the garden, which actually was very popular on YouTube, must be the algorithms, the beautiful garden it was. I talked at the end of that about the importance of forging community relationships. It could have been the video after that, the most recent video I've done. So again, we have to stave off this cancer that we've got in the country, which then manifests in our body. So the authors are explaining the problem that we've got on a macro level. So pay attention to this. Our communication systems extend worldwide, yet still we cannot communicate with our neighbours or partners. We have leisure, yet we do not know what to do with it. We produce and destroy foodstuffs purely in order to manipulate prices. We can travel the whole world, yet still do not know ourselves. Our current philosophy knows no other goal but growth and progress. We work, experiment, research, yet for what? For the sake of progress? And what is the aim of that progress? Oh yes, yet more progress. Humanity is on a trip without a goal. And so well, let me digress there. We all know what the goal is. Those of you who understand the agenda at play, we know what their goal is. And so it constantly has to set itself new targets to keep despair at bay. The cancer cell simply cannot hold a candle to the blindness and short-sightedness of contemporary humanity. For the sake of pursuing economic expansion, we have for decades been exploiting our environment as both larder and host, only to be astonished by the sudden realization that the death of the host also involves the death of humanity itself. With regard the whole world as a quarry, we regard the whole world as a quarry to be mined, whether for plants, animals, or raw materials. The one and only reason why it is all there, it seems, is so that we can spread ourselves across the face of the earth ad infinitum. In light of this behaviour, how can we possibly have the gall or the sheer barefaced cheek to complain about cancer? All it is doing, after all, is mirroring what we ourselves get up to, our own behaviour, our reasoning, and even where it will all ultimately get us. It is not a question of conquering cancer. It is merely a question of understanding what it is, so that we can learn to understand ourselves too. How keen we are to smash the mirror whenever we do not like the look of our face. This camera is going the wrong way. Right, let me just go back. I'm sorry if it's a bit lopsided. How keen are we to smash the mirror whenever we do not like the look of our face? You see, if we become cancerous, we are cancerous. Let me repeat that. If we become cancerous, we are cancerous. Cancer gives us our great opportunity to discover in it the extent of our own misunderstanding and false reasoning. Let us therefore do our best to discover the conceptual weak points in the outlook that we and cancer have in common. Ultimately, cancer's great stumbling block is the polarization between me and the community. This either or is all it can see, and so it plumps for survival on its own account, independently of its environment, only to realise too late that it is actually dependent on that environment. It lacks any awareness of the larger all-embracing unity. It sees unity only in terms of its own self-delineation. It is this misunderstanding of unity that we human beings share with cancer. This is so similar to the video I put up 2 days ago, the last video that I put up. I'm just going to remove this from here. Right, that's better. This is so similar to the video I put up 2 days ago, and it's a big synchronicity that I'm reading this section of the book today, the next part. The either or is all it can see, and so it plumps for survival on its own account, independently of its environment, only to realise too late that it is actually dependent on that environment. It lacks any awareness of the larger all-embracing unity. It sees unity only in terms of its own self-delineation. It is this misunderstanding of unity that we human beings share with cancer. We too divide ourselves off mentally, so giving rise to the split between I and you. We think in terms of unities, or rather of units, without realising the meaninglessness of such terms. Unity, oneness, is the sum of all being, outside of which there is nothing. Cut up unity into bits. Remember in yesterday's video, 2 days ago, I call that fragments. Cut up unity into bits and you get diversity. Yet this diversity still ultimately adds up to unity. I'm going to stop there because I'm a little bit awestruck at this part of the reading just soon after the video that I put up 2 days ago. I'd like you to go back and read that, to watch that. It's very, very important. But ultimately, the whole purpose of this is that we are learning that we have become, as a one world people now, we have become completely cancerous. We've allowed ourselves to become completely cancerous. And all this has happened because we are plugged in to a very devastating satanic media force through every input externally, especially social media. And cancer, the disease, is expanding rapidly. I mean, we are at the stage now in some places where it's 1 in 2. And if you, as the authors say, it's not a case of conquering it. It's a case of understanding yourself and what you're connected to, what source you're connected to. This is so important. That is why I say Remove yourself from the wrong environment, which is conducive to cancer. Get rid and understand your ego. All your materialism is all cancerous. And if you think you're healthy today, but you live in that cancerous way, and you know who you are, because that's most of you, especially the younger generation, you're setting yourself up for a disease, whether that's cancer or another disease. It will hit you because it takes time to actually show you its form in symptoms. It's already happening to you, but it's just not through your symptoms. So though we are going through a massive depopulation agenda, but that agenda can stop when you start looking at yourself and change yourself and work to serve and spend time in prayer to the mind behind the universe, God, and start paying attention to others around you, your community and your loved ones. Even if you don't get on with them, try and find a way to unite, because if you don't, it's your stupidity, it's your loss, you're diseasing yourself. Remember that. It's very clear to see that the world is lying to itself. The people of the world are lost. Anyway, that's enough for today, but it's such an important point. So get out into your garden or go for a long walk, which is what I'm going to do now, in nature or whatever nature you've got around you. Even if you've got nothing but the sky, at least you've got the sky. It's something that's going to connect you to the Almighty. And have a lovely day.